So I am just feeling like I want to talk to you guys a little bit because I just went on a date and I don't do that very often. I'm not a huge dating person. I have so much on my plate, so much going on that I don't have a lot of time to try to get to know people or try to form romantic engagements or involvements because, I have other things and other priorities. But a couple weeks ago, after my stand up show, I met this man and he seemed really nice. And I gave him my number. We had a really good conversation and I texted him and he texted me and he asked me out to dinner tonight. So I made time to do that. And we had a really good dinner. He took me to a nice restaurant. We had an okay conversation. And then, we were having such a good time that I suggested we go get a nightcap at Gold Dust Meridian just to continue our conversation because, I was having a nice time. And we went to Gold Dust and we were having this conversation and he started talking about having children and getting married. And then when I said, I think women should have the choice whether or not they want to have children, and I don't think that it's fair for men to insist that women burden their bodies and burden themselves with childbirth or carrying a child just because the man wants to have a biological child. He got a little just, kind of clawy. And, but we smoothed it over and figured out where the signals got crossed and continued the conversation. And the conversation turned into casting. And he asked me why I didn't have a SAG card. And I'm SAG eligible, but I don't have a SAG card because in Portland, it's really just not a union town. And if you have a SAG card, you don't work as much as you would if you don't. And I hear from my friends in LA that it's a lot the same down there, which I find disappointing and sad because I want the union to succeed and I think that actors should be treated with respect and dignity, and that we should all band together and, demand things like decent working conditions and, livable wage. I don't know, call me crazy. Like, I spend thousands of dollars to train in my craft. I feel like I should be paid for that. And, we were talking about a girlfriend of mine who happens to work quite a bit in Portland. And I said, in Portland, I'm not really super marketable here because I don't really fit the mold. And, he argued with me and told me I was so beautiful and this, that, and the other. And I said, okay, yeah, but I don't, most of the commercial work here is for a certain type of woman. And I have a lot of really good friends that fit that type and they work all the time. And it isn't that there's anything wrong with me, but, the people that are casting from this male gaze point of view or this very patriarchal and tropey. Not that my friends are tropey, I don't want anyone to think that, but the people making casting decisions are not making casting decisions from a feminist point of view. Casting decisions, by and large, for the most part, even in campaigns in which they're celebrating diversity or celebrating differences in people, are very, very much made from a cis white gendered male point of view for the most part. And what I was trying to explain is that, in this commercial that my girlfriend just did, she was cast as the wife of somebody who is a very nice person, but in all intents and purposes is not anywhere near as attractive as she is. And we see that model over and over and over again, where you have this, kind of dopey dude, like average looking dude, with this phenomenally beautiful woman. And the argument that I was trying to make is the reason that that's a casting decision and a story and a narrative decision is because many of the scripts that we see get financed and many of the scripts that we see get made are made from this male gaze point of view, where men want to fantasize that they are always going to have this beautiful woman, and that the very existence of this casting model was a form of patriarchy and also detrimental to women because it forces us into this place of objectification. Somehow that offended him, and he flipped the fuck out and told me I hated all men and that I needed to get over whatever hurts I was suffering at, whatever I was holding on to that men had done to me, and freaked the fuck out. And just really confused by this, because this isn't a person who's just like some dude that never reads the news or isn't aware of progressive politics or aware of patriarchy or anything. I mean, this is a person who's actually very much influential in the way that our society is formed. And I find it concerning that he's unable to recognize this very basic concept of equality and patriarchy, and instead of listening to what I had to say, instead took it completely into left field and made it about him. Instead of making it about ideas and about this meta view of society and patriarchy and, the way that women and men are seen differently and held to different standards, he literally took what I said and made it about him. And then he proceeded to mansplain to me about how I was wrong. And I was patient, and I was waiting for him to finish his second glass of wine while I was having a soda and bitters, because I wanted to be polite and respectful. And then he got even angrier and told me to have fun in LA next weekend, which is not anything I said at all throughout the night in any way, shape, or form. I think I mentioned that I had planned to move to LA about 5 years ago, six years ago now, and that it didn't happen because I got into a serious relationship and chose instead to pursue that relationship instead of moving as I had planned to. And then some other things happened that have just kind of delayed that process for me. And what I had said was that I was going away for the weekend to go to an acting camp with some friends of mine, and that I was really excited about it, but that was down at the coast. So basically what that told me is that he hadn't listened to anything that I had said the entire night. And he was more interested in being out with somebody that he perceived as attractive and beautiful than he was in listening to my opinions or my viewpoints or anything I had to say. And that's really hurtful. And I'm actually really, really bummed out about it, because I think a lot of us go through that. I think that a lot of us are objectified in a way where once we show that we have an education or viewpoints that are in any way, shape, or form outside of what men expect from us, all of a sudden we're like offensive to them in some way, or, you know, have a chip on our shoulder, or what the fuck ever. I don't know. I make it no secret that I am a feminist through and through. I'm not quiet about what I think. I'm not quiet about my opinions, and I'm not quiet about my education. But even when men think that they want to hang out with me because I'm smart and because I am educated and because I do have viewpoints and do have views on the world and knowledge, once they realize that that actually involves me having my own identity, that I'm not just going to sit and listen to them without having something to say back, they get offended and they get upset, and, you know, they storm out of places and yell in the middle of bars. And it's crazy to me. It's just crazy. Another thing that happened tonight is we were talking about Shakespeare and iambic pentameter, and I was talking about how in iambic it actually mirrors a human heartbeat. And he asked me what my viewpoint was about William Shakespeare being another writer, or being a conglomerate of writers and not really existing. And I was explaining Christopher Marlowe's writing and some of the scholastic viewpoints around that, and how, I wasn't sure. I wasn't a Shakespearean expert, but I had taken a few classes in college that talked about how Marlowe might have been Shakespeare, or Shakespeare might have been Marlowe's alter ego. And, as an actor, Shakespeare is really great because the script tells you exactly what to do. The iambic tells you exactly where to find the emotion in your body, because the iambic will change with the actual heartbeat of the emotion that's being portrayed in the script. If you're angry, it'll be irregular. And if you're supposed to be calm, it'll slow down. And, it's great. Like, it's fascinating to study. It's so cool. But he just kind of glazed over when I was talking about all of this. And then listened to me for about 2 or 3 minutes, and went back to telling me how gorgeous I was, and how if I were in New York, I would never go out with a guy like him, and how I was so beautiful and so this and so that. And then he wanted to hold my hand and come over and rub my neck. And I invited none of this attention. I was just trying to have a conversation and get to know somebody. So I'm feeling a little disappointed that I took my evening to go and talk to somebody and get to know somebody new, and they weren't really interested in getting to know me. They were just interested in being out with me. And that just kind of sucks all the way around. So to make a long story longer, this dude literally freaked the fuck out in the middle of the bar, told me that I needed to get over whatever hangups I had about men. And when I said, okay, well, I said I would drive you home, so let me give you a ride, he was like, no, I'll be fine, and ordered another drink as I walked out of the bar. Who knows? I don't know. I thought he was nice. I'm not really sure what's going to happen here, if I'm going to see him again or not. I am not even really sure I want to see him again. But I did want to talk about the experience because I think it's important that people understand that feminism is about being treated with humanity and being treated with respect and being treated as a whole person, not being treated differently because of the way you look or the way you present or the things that men want to project upon you. I realize that I am an attractive person, and I feel very fortunate about that, and I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form. Like, very, very glad and very blessed that, you know, the universe and God and genetics and whatever, like, gave me the things that I have in the looks department. But I've always maintained that my looks are like the least interesting thing about me, and that the books I've read and the classes I've taken and the training that I've had and, you know, the news that I read and the opinions and my brain is way, way more attractive than the way that I look. And I think what was really driven home to me tonight is that I think the reason why I'm still single after, you know, being single for a couple of years is that in my last relationship, you know, that person valued my brain more than anything else about me. And it was my favorite thing. Like, I had never been with anybody who cared more about my brain than the way that I looked. And it's unfortunate that that didn't work out, but that's just the way things are. And, you know, c'est la vie, whatever. And talk about that another time. But fuck, dating is hard, guys. Like, it is. It's a process for sure. And now I've made a 17-minute, 17-second video rambling on about this first date with this person who, it actually kind of scares me because he's in a position of power. He's in a position to make decisions that affect the livelihoods of many, many people. And it's really disappointing to me that the behavior that I saw tonight showed me that in spite of seeming like he has this progressive view of the world, at the core, he really is just another white dude. And that's sad. Not that there's anything wrong with being a Caucasian man, and not that there's anything wrong with being a man, but when you are in a position of privilege and power and you're unwilling to acknowledge that position of privilege and power, and when somebody challenges your viewpoint and you react from that position of privilege and power, it is patriarchy personified. And we live in such a patriarchal society, and women are held to such a different standard than men that, you know, it's annoying. It's annoying that one conversation can turn into the battle of the sexes because I didn't smile politely and just agree with everything that he had to say. So yeah, yay. People wonder why I don't date, but that would be the reason. So with that said, have a good night. I'll see you on the flip side. Mwah.